So what I mean is when you're trying to decide if you're beginner or intermediate, right, you need to compare yourself to the players you spend the most time playing around. Now, the way I like to think of it in terms of where you are in your career, how advanced you are, I like to picture it as like a basketball race. Hopefully this is like relatable to other players as well. In my mind, I've always thought about like, okay, if in terms of skill and ability, right, if you're running a basketball race against the players that you usually play with and against, right, in that race, do you feel like you're behind the vast majority of the players, or are you more even with them? Like, do you feel you're constantly playing catch up? Like they're constantly and consistently ahead of you and you're trying to catch up to them because they're just better than you? Is that the perception that you get from the experience of playing with and against them on a regular basis? Or do you feel like you're pretty even with them? Because like we established, most of the players out here are going to be in that intermediate, vast majority section of the bell curve. So do you feel like you're with them, or do you feel like you're constantly trying to chase them and catch up to them because you're behind them because you're a beginner and the majority of them are intermediate? Now, you could be making the case that like you are intermediate and the people that you're playing with and against are advanced, and so of course you constantly feel like you're trying to catch up to them because they're in the small percentage of the end of the bell curve of being advanced players, and maybe you're intermediate or maybe you're still beginner. And so if you're constantly competing with and against advanced players, then of course you're always going to feel like you're trying to catch up to them. But like I said, that's unlikely. Like, of course, from time to time you are going to come across players who are in that advanced section of the bell curve, but the vast majority of the players out here that you're going to encounter are going to be intermediate. So making that assumption, do you feel like you're even with them, or do you feel like you're still trying to catch up to them? If you feel like you're still trying to catch up to them, and the more in front of you they seem to be, right, the more of a beginner you are. That's fine. And then the closer you get to them, and the more even you seem and feel to be with them, the more of an intermediate player you probably are.